Stephen A., what is their biggest hurdle towards adding it this year?
Well, I think the obvious answer to that would be the Milwaukee Bucks.
Celtics were the most consistent team in my eyes, and now that the Bucks have kind of taken that throne for now.
They ain't gonna stop Giannis. I'm saying they don't have to beat him.
Giannis Antetokounmpo has missed 14 games this season. Jrue Holiday's missed 11. Khris Middleton has missed 42. Bobby Portis has missed 11. Pat Connaughton has missed 18. And not to mention, Jae Crowder has just recently been implemented into this rotation. And somehow, despite all of this, the Milwaukee Bucks still sit atop the entire NBA while also riding a pretty ridiculous win streak in the process. So obviously, the question still remains, even though we know how successful this team has been in the past, but how are they continually playing at this high of a level that no one across the league has been able to match? Well, the answer, surprisingly enough, might not be what you're expecting. But before we go any further, today's video is brought to you by our friends at Manscaped. Now, while most of us probably know Manscaped for their high-quality downstairs trimmers, they've finally also expanded into the world of facial hair care, and luckily, they were able to send me over their new Beard Hedger Pro Kit. And while their Beard Hedger trimmer has a powerful 7200 RPM motor and a titanium coated T-blade, it also has 20 different haircutting lengths to choose from on just a single guard. And with being waterproof, cordless, and rechargeable, it makes it possible to freshen up just about anywhere. But also including dermatologist tested products like shampoo, conditioner, beard oil, and beard balm, this kit brings beard hygiene to a completely new level. And if you go down to the link in our bio, you can receive 20% off plus free international shipping when you use our code HoopsDigest at checkout. Once again, that is code HoopsDigest to join the global men's lifestyle brand in Manscaped. Now, to get back on topic with the Milwaukee Bucks, I mean, sure, if you're going to give credit to anyone on this historic run seen by this team as of recently, the Greek Freak is probably the first one in line. Because aside from the impressive numbers he's put up this entire season, his averages over this recent stretch have only been that much better. And also keep in mind, these numbers are extremely skewed because of him having to leave in the first quarter due to injury in 2 of these games over this stretch. But even with the point forward continuing to dominate both through pressuring the paint as we're used to, as well as extending his game to more efficiently score at all 3 levels of the court. And I'm saying that with major emphasis on his deep ball as of recently. As weird as it might actually sound, Giannis isn't even what stood out the most about this team. Now, whenever you think of the Milwaukee Bucks outside of Giannis Antetokounmpo, you're more than likely to think of the 2 that round out this team's big 3 in both Jrue Holiday and Khris Middleton. And while by Middleton's standards at least, he has played far below expectations of what we're used to from him, as he's still somewhat easing back into his return from injury, but pretty much everywhere where Khris has lacked this season, Jrue Holiday has really thrived and filled that gap for this team almost to perfection. Because despite seeing a higher demand for production this season than he's seen in quite a while, his efficiency from the field overall and even from behind the three-point line has barely dipped. But even with Jrue Holiday seamlessly shifting into the number 2 option for this team this season, there's obviously still a ton of people out there wondering when we're actually going to see Khris Middleton implemented into the starting rotation again, and more importantly, when we're actually going to see the big 3 playing on the court together as opposed to just being in the same 10-man rotation. But what if I told you that keeping these 3 from consistently playing on the court together might just be the biggest reason that nobody can stop this team? Now take for example what I think you could consider the most common Milwaukee starting 5 this season, at least when health is on their side, of Jrue Holiday, Pat Connaughton, Grayson Allen, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Brook Lopez. Because, I mean, in a lineup like this, it's hard for me to even try to put together a different 5-man unit that fits the skill set of Jrue Holiday better than this one. Because in terms of operating an offensive style like this one, his isolation ability to generate either from scoring at every level of the court on his own, or even his basketball IQ to always seemingly make the perfect pass to a fluent rotation filled with capable outside shooters, which when you have around 10 guys in your rotation hovering around or above 35% from deep this season, and that's not even including Khris Middleton and Bobby Portis who have been struggling, and even along with the very effective pick and roll between Giannis and Jrue, and even Jrue's undervalued ability to get open off the ball as well when Giannis is in command, end. Long story short, this offense has continually put up high numbers all season, so why not keep it that way and instead use Khris Middleton to operate in a different style? Which, spoiler alert, is exactly what they are doing. Now, with seeing the Milwaukee Bucks do this for most of the time that Khris Middleton's been healthy this year, it should by no means be taken in the sense of saying that Jrue Holiday and Khris Middleton's playstyles are somehow diminishing each other, but instead, this variation has both consistently overwhelmed opposing defenses while also giving Khris Middleton the perfect opportunity to run himself back up to speed. Because again, despite his dip in numbers this season, Middleton is still absolutely a needed complementary alongside Giannis, with his ability to both find a weak spot and attack opposing defenses through isolation playstyle. But what definitely also helps is that we see a much bigger share of point Giannis on display when Khris is on the court with him as opposed to Jrue Holiday, and that is for obvious reasons. And honestly, no matter who is actually on the court for this team, even when you're considering we'll probably see Middleton back in the starting rotation very soon, whether it's regular season, playoffs, or even the biggest stage, opposing teams are either going to be forced to accept the reality of Giannis getting whatever he wants on the inside or allowing this shooting arsenal to work to the highest degree on the outside. And if you somehow think I'm blowing the success of this Milwaukee offense just a tad out of proportion with what I'm saying, I would like to think that this team posting borderline the most efficient offense in all of basketball over this stretch, especially compared to what they were putting up in the first half of the season, would more than likely convince you of what I'm trying to get at here. I mean, would Bucks fans like to see the big three on the court together more, especially as we approach the playoffs? I'm sure the answer to that is yes, and I would love to hear what you guys think of that in the comments, but for right now, there's absolutely no issue with this team taking the approach of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But trust me, you guys, it is not just this team's offensive improvement that has fueled the display of dominance that we have seen. Because in fact, you could probably even argue that it's Milwaukee's defense that deserves more credit than anything else. Now, how they've actually continued to be a top team in this regard for another season, and also take that standard to a new level as of recently, definitely isn't because of an ability to, say, get high steal numbers and force turnovers, but instead, as funny as it sounds, it's just their coverage that leaves most opposing teams with little to actually do against them. Because from their stifling drop defensive anchors in either Giannis or Brook Lopez, who he himself has taken a leap to a completely new level both offensively and defensively this year, to their perimeter pressure and guys they've had all year, but now even thinking about adding Jae Crowder into that mix as well, there's really just so many defensive lineup combinations that Mike Budenholzer now has up his sleeve that they're able to throw at really any opponent that might stand in their way. And if I'm being honest, the overall presence that we've seen from this team on this side of the ball will probably end up making the biggest difference for them once they hit the postseason. But of course, the most important question of them all is, will this all end up being enough to push this team to a second championship within a 3-year window? Well, as always, we'll just have to wait and see. Nonetheless though, you guys, with everything that we've discussed so far in this video regarding the Milwaukee Bucks, I am of course extremely curious to hear what you all have to think about their situation. So please be sure to let me know in the comments what has been the most surprising part to you out of everything we've seen on the Bucks' ridiculous win streak as of recently, and if you had to, give me a prediction for what their final record will be heading into the postseason and how far you actually see them making it. But also, I just wanted to say thank you so much to each and every one of you out there for watching. I appreciate you all more than anything. You all know this, and I will see you guys in the next video.